let's shift the lens with which we are looking at urban planning and bring women in both as users and contributor in the planning process. I'm Nandita Shah, co-founder of Akshara Center. We believe that city undoubtedly give huge opportunity for young women, but city also reinforces a certain gender norms and gender inequality. But what's common in all the modern city is experiences of violence and crime. It restricts where they will go, whom they will meet, how they will move around, and how will they access the roads, the streets, the parks. It's the fear of violence that restricts women's mobility, access to the city in different ways. Though it has been well established that men and women use the city differently, but has it become part of the planning process? ये शहर हमारा भी है, and how can we make that into a reality? Then let's not look at women only as end users and things that have to be done for them, but include them in the process of planning, in the visioning of the city and every aspect. And that would mean what's happening in terms of infrastructure development, what's happening in terms of transport, what's happening in terms of livelihood options, what's happening in terms of recreation. Can women be in public place without justification, without explanation? So as a woman, you can access a particular place, but as a Muslim woman, that place is even more restricted. As a trans woman, can you enter a reserved ladies compartment and there will be question raised? So multiple identities have restrictions on how they access. It's the first time in the history of the country that a gender chapter has been included in a development plan. We've been able to get multiple reservations for women in the city. So when I say multi-purpose housing, it's going to be like a 14-story building in every ward, and it will allow single women an option of housing, which today in city of Mumbai is very, very difficult. And can we have care centers for children? Can we have care center for senior citizens? Today we see so many development projects coming up in the city, and we have all these very large barricaded partitions that are created. And what they tend to do is really restrict women's visibility and make them feel unsafe. Are there eyes on the street? Are there people who are there most of the time so that when something happens, you feel that you can access them and you can go to them? We have done safety audits of parks. We tend to do walls surrounding them, and the feeling is that when there is a wall, there is a protection and safety. In fact, it's the other way around. When the walls are broken and when there is a place for people to sit around, there is safety because your eyes can see what's happening inside and outside, and you have a possibility to be able to get out when something unforeseen is happening around you. Street corner newsstands are something that began in 1960 and are constantly used only by men. How do we increase women's footfall in these newspaper stands? Most of the time, these spaces are only used by boys and men. Can we have some time of the day where girls and women can access these parks and gardens? Why is it that recreation for women is not seen as a rightful, justified reason for women to be out there? And I think that is what we need to add as part of our thinking process in the city. Many times when women are traveling and their mobility is completely restricted because of this experience of everyday sexual harassment, and you pass it off as this is something we have to bear. But why? Why should women have to bear sexual harassment, touching, whistling on an everyday basis? We undertook a study of 5,000 women in collaboration with Hindustan Times, and 95% of women said that they've experienced sexual harassment. We felt it was important that there is a separate emergency helpline for women. If a woman calls up that number, the police beat marshal should arrive at that place. And that has really been a very positive step that Mumbai police have taken up. In our survey, 46% of women said that they experienced sexual harassment in the bus. And we collaborated with the best authorities to say, can we actually give a role of prevention to conductors and drivers? And it's that expansion of role that they are not only collecting money, but they're also playing a preventive role, which has made a huge difference to women who are commuting. So while women have reserved compartment for them to travel, access to it is something that they have to experience sexual harassment. And how can we reduce that and how can we stop it? Safety audit included the lighting, what are the timings where they feel the unsafe areas are there? Are there people or gangs standing there and not allowing women to feel safe? Today, women are traveling by train for 1.5 hours. They will not have water because they are so afraid that they will have to go to pee. All of us, many organizations together, we launched this campaign called Right to Pee.
कचऱ्याचा ढिगला असतो ना त्याच्या खाली जाऊन बसायचं.
And asking that women's right to use public toilets should be respected by the city planners. So on one hand, we want city planners to change, but we want women learn to assert themselves. And in that process, we have to do multiple different kinds of intervention. And one of the things we found very effective and very powerful is organizing night marathons and night runs. That restriction that they've always had, that you can have to come back before 7 o'clock, once you break that, they are able to access the city differently. Subway and skywalks were a very important area because most of the time women don't want to get into it because they are so afraid of what is going to happen there. We revamped it by lighting, by visually doing up the place, and it has changed the way in which it is being used. So we are looking for multiple ways in which we can have gender inclusion in our city. Your suggestions, your ideas, your interventions in this area are going to benefit all of us together in making our city safe and inclusive. And I keep saying again, this city is ours too.